The following contains descriptions of physical violence, sexual violence, and graphic descriptions of autopsies.
Hey listeners, welcome to episode 77 of TGIC Podcast. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Izzy.
Okay, just a little reminder again before we get started that we did launch some of our merch, which is really exciting. And there's definitely going to be more to come in the future, but definitely go check that out. It's going to be linked on all of our socials and it's linked on our website. Izzy worked really hard on those, so I think you should definitely go check those out. They're really cool.
Yeah, they're super cool and they're super comfy. Like, we both have sweatshirts. All of our family has, like, t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah,
so
they're super fun.
Yeah.
I think other than that, let's just get into the case. Today we're going to be covering the disappearance of Katelin Akens. We're going to guess. Is that how we say it?
I think
Akens?
so.
That
Akens.
seems right. Okay. I'm so bad with the name pronunciation.
We both are.
I thought it would get better over the years.
No, I think it's gotten worse.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get started with some background.
So, Katelin Akens was born in 1996 in Virginia, and she was 19 years old when she disappeared. She grew up in Virginia with her mom, Lisa Sullivan, younger sister Gabby, and her stepfather, James Branton. So, Katelin's mother, Lisa, and her ex-stepfather, James, got married when Katelin was 7, and they eventually got divorced. However, James was really involved in their family, and they were, close because he was, the only father figure she ever had. He was just, always there for holidays, etc. Katelin was outgoing and, known to be unabashedly herself. She knew exactly what she wanted to do in the world and how she wanted to present herself, which is...
She was really into, cosmetology stuff, so she had, a lot of piercings, changed up her hair a lot, had some tattoos.
Yeah. And when Katelin was in her junior year of high school, she actually decided that she wanted to graduate as early as she could. So she took online classes that covered her junior and senior year course loads, and she ended up actually graduating at only 16, which is wild. When she was 18 years old, Katelin moved to Arizona to be with her girlfriend, Amber, and they soon got engaged. Amber and Katelin had actually been friends since childhood because they grew up down the street from one another. But even though Amber's family moved to Arizona when she was younger, Katelin and her stayed really close and they talked every day. And their really close friendship eventually bloomed into a romantic relationship.
That's so sweet.
It is really sweet.
That's such a sweet story.
Yeah. And Katelin had actually planned on starting cosmetology school in Arizona soon, prior to her disappearance. Katelin was really close with her family, specifically her mother and her sister, who she talked to daily and sometimes multiple times a day when she was in Arizona. And so, the distance, it seems like she was just really good at communicating with people and, talking to them a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Because she maintained so many friendships and relationships even when she was apart from people, which is notable.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get into the timeline a little bit. So, December of 2015. On December 1st, Katelin returned to Virginia to visit her family, specifically because her younger sister Gabby had just given birth to a baby boy. So she went to go see the baby, went to go home. This also had a double purpose because she was about to start cosmetology school and she needed her high school diploma. So she went home, saw her new nephew, she got her diploma. And yeah, she said that, her family said she seemed really well when she was there. She spent a few days with them. Everything seemed pretty good. She saw some friends from high school. It seemed like a good trip. No one noticed anything bizarre. On December 5th of 2015, her flight was scheduled to go back to Arizona and leave Virginia at 5 p.m. It was a little contradictory. It was 5 or 5:30, 5:40. There were some different times, but roughly between 5 and 6 p.m., so that's not that weird. Her stepfather, James Branton, had offered to give her a ride to the airport because I guess nobody else could, so he stepped up and offered. So like we said earlier, Lisa and James had already been divorced, but they had remained friendly, so he was still pretty close to the family. But I don't think Katelin had seen him on this trip home yet. I think this was her time to go see him, and he was dropping her off at the airport, so double purpose. So Lisa dropped Katelin off at James's house that day, and she said that James seemed happy to see her, that Katelin and James sat down on the couch to talk, and James was really excited to hear about Katelin going to cosmetology school. Everything seemed normal, good, regular visit kind of thing. So then Lisa leaves, whatever. James is supposed to take Katelin to the airport. I think he did have to take her kind of on, like, the earlier side because he had to get to work that day.
Yeah, like, he had work at, like, 3 or something.
Yeah, so, like, he had to take her on the earlier end, but he was the only person that could drive her, so that's
and
what
also,
was happening.
the airport was, like, kind of far from their house. It was, like, 50 miles or something.
Yeah, because they lived in, like, I forgot what the name was. It's relatively near, like, Fredericksburg, Virginia, but they needed to get to Reagan Airport, like, outside of D.C.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was far. Okay, so then the rest of the time, like, kind of gets a little bit messy because it's all through, like, text. Like, so it is going to be a little bit messy, so just bear with me. At 1:52 p.m., James sends a message to Lisa that he dropped Katelin off at the airport. He says, I dropped Katelin off. Lisa says, okay, thank you. And then in a separate text says, how's the traffic? And James says, not too bad. So 8 minutes later at 2 p.m., Katelin then sent a message to her mom that she was at the airport and that her phone was about to die, so she wouldn't be able to text for a bit.
Okay.
So that seems pretty normal. Like, you know, no one was raising any red flags yet. So some time passes, and at 7:15 p.m., which is, you know, an hour and a half after she was supposed to be on this flight, Lisa receives 2 separate texts from Katelin saying, I'm staying with a friend and I need some time alone. This is, like, immediately causing panic amongst her family just because, like, it was weird. Like, she seemed totally fine when she was with them. Like, she was going back to where her fiance was in Arizona, where she was about to start cosmetology school. She just saw her family. Like, nothing should be causing her to need this time alone, see a friend. Like, no one knows who this friend would be. Like, this just seems very bizarre. And like you said, like, she talks to her family every day. So
like,
this,
they're
like,
close.
This sticks out. And then also, her mom said that this was just a very strange way for her to text. Like, everyone has their texting style, and she said that Katelin would, like, never send 2 text messages. Like, which makes sense. Like, I send a lot of back-to-back text messages, but, like, I know people who just never send back-to-back text messages and send, like, just a really long text. And if this was, like, you know, her mom, they texted every single day. Like, her saying that this was not how she texted, that's, like, a red flag.
Yeah. And it's also interesting because it's, like, I think about how I text with, like, my parents versus my friends versus people who I'm not very close with.
Yeah.
Like, I've been told... So it's so funny. When I think of, like, when I'm texting you or my parents, it's super casual and, like, I don't know, like, just... Like, I text how I talk in a lot of ways. But then I've been told by other people that when I, like, who I don't know very well, like, if I'm texting someone who I'm, like, quote unquote, like, talking to, you know what I mean? Like, who I'm, like, seeing or, like, hanging out with, it's, like, I apparently text very formal.
Interesting.
Which is weird. I don't know. It's just interesting how people text people differently.
Yeah. And so, like, I think her mom definitely noticed that this was just bizarre, like, behaviorally, and also, like, her texting manner was bizarre. So they later found out, after talking to Amber in Arizona, that she had received a text from Katelin at 11:56 a.m., which is, like, way before any of this. And she said that Katelin told her that she was going to be unable to come back to Arizona that day because of something with her flight.
Yeah, and then I also... because I saw that text and I was like, when I was researching and she texted her like, oh, there's something going on. But then Amber had texted her mom too, like Katelin's mom. And her, like, saying what's going on with Amber's flight, and Katelin's mom had no idea because they kept texting her and she wasn't responding.
See, that's where this timeline gets so messy, is because everything is through text messages.
Yeah, and it's like, Katelin also said in the text message to her mom at 2 p.m. that, like, her phone was about to die.
Yeah.
So I guess that would make sense. Like, it would excuse the reason that she wouldn't respond to people's texts for a while.
Okay, so this is just really weird. This is all, like, no one's really sure what's going on. They're hearing this from Amber. Her mom got these texts. James says that he had dropped her off, like, whatever. Okay. As the investigation began, it was determined that none of these messages were actually sent from the airport, and the phone had pinged off of a cell tower near I-95 in Stafford County, Virginia, which is about an hour away from the airport.
What?
None of those texts came from, like, anywhere remotely near the airport. So that's
weird.
It's just really strange. Like, so she just never even made it to the airport that day, which then goes back to, like, James's, like, where did he drop her off?
Yeah.
Anyway, 2 days later, December 7th of 2015, Caitlin's luggage is discovered off a road in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is, again, not close to the airport. It's very far from the airport. It's a location that it was just a few miles, A, from where her cell phone had pinged off of, and B, it was just a few miles away from James's house.
Oh.
Inside this luggage was her ID, her wallet, her glasses, and her plane ticket, which is, like, pretty important stuff. But her clothes, phone, and high school diploma were missing, which is also important stuff.
Okay.
So some of it was taken, some of it wasn't.
And that's, like, important for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. Like, her ID, leaving behind, like, her ID and stuff, and, like, wallet, like, that's, like, you know, you want to lose her identity. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to leave something behind. But, like, why would you leave your glasses? Like, don't you need to see?
Exactly. No, that's, okay. This is, like, making me think immediately that was specifically planned by someone.
Yeah, but, like, someone's stupid. Like, why would you leave behind the glasses? Because if you're trying to, like, plot a runaway, like...
Then they would need their glasses.
Yeah. Like,
and then also, like, if you're taking your school diploma with your name on it and identification on it, then you would also need your ID wherever you would use that.
Yeah, because you need to validate it.
So it's like, why are you taking one thing and leaving another? That doesn't make sense.
It's very strange. The suitcase also looked like it had been thrown from a moving vehicle. It had, like, a missing wheel and a whole bunch of scuff marks. So someone, like, most likely was driving and just tossed it out of the car. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
And that seems like, okay, so, like, Katelin went to, near the airport. It's so weird.
She never actually went near the airport because her cell phone never pinged from that area.
Oh. I didn't even think about that.
Like, that 2 p.m. text that, like, my phone's about to die text, like, that one never was at the airport.
Oh, my God. Okay. So, suspects and theories. So, first off, obviously we have to say James Branton, who's her stepdad. So, first off, James was the last person to see her, and as investigators began to question him, his story continued to change. So he had texted Lisa to say he dropped off Katelin at the airport, but he later said that Katelin wanted to be dropped off at Springfield Mall so that she could, kill some time before her flight and she could take the metro the rest of the way to the airport, which makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a ridiculous story.
No, because, think about it. The flight was at, between 5 and 6, and he was dropping her off at, 2 p.m.
Yeah, and, she was an adult. I think that's, such an important thing to remember is, yes, she was visiting her parents, but, she was an adult.
She's 19.
She can go to the mall and then, get herself the rest of the way to the airport. It's, on the train line.
And, this makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And, by saying, why would he lie? Why would he change the story and be at first he dropped her off at the airport and then change it to that he dropped her off at the mall? Because, either way, it's not that weird.
Yeah, they're also, relatively in the same area. So, the cell phone pings thing, if even, Fredericksburg's nowhere near the airport or the mall.
Yeah,
so,
which makes no sense.
This story is just, unnecessary.
Yeah, exactly. And it's okay. So, let's say he did drive her to the mall, okay?
Uh-huh.
How did her luggage end up 3 miles away from his house?
Yeah.
And how was her phone pinging off 3 miles away from his house and not even near the mall?
Not even near the mall, not even near the airport.
That just doesn't make sense. And, investigators also found that the text he had sent to Lisa were sent from a cell tower near his house and not the airport.
Which is really freaky because that text that he's I just dropped Katelin off, he's near his house. Not near the airport that's 50 miles away.
And it's also interesting, his luggage 3 miles away from his house. The luggage that was 3 miles away from his house. Mm-hmm. Her cell phone pinging was a few miles away from his house.
Yeah. That freaks me out though, picturing this guy being I dropped Katelin off.
And he's at home.
That's so scary.
I'm getting actual chills thinking about that.
Yeah.
Also, we said earlier, Katelin's final texts were sent. Oh wait, we just talked about that. Sorry, they were sent from an area near his home, and also they didn't sound like her. And I feel that's so indicative of who's sending them.
Yeah, someone else is texting from her phone.
Yeah, and it's also okay, I'm sorry if I was having trouble at the airport, and even though I am 19, which is the age that she was. And, I've done so many flights and stuff by myself now because of college. I would call my parents.
Yeah.
I would call my mom.
My brother and I, and, like, we're both teenagers. Like, yeah, he's younger than me, but, like, I'm an adult technically. And, we were flying to Florida and our flight got canceled. And, like, we were still, like, contacting our parents discussing what to do about our flight. Like, it's not like...
Yeah.
Like, if I was in that situation... Also, if she wasn't able to leave, to go to Arizona that day, wouldn't she need to go home, like, have somewhere to stay?
Exactly.
Like... It's weird that she was not, like, in close communication with her parents if her flight was actually messed up.
Exactly. Like, that doesn't make sense. And it's like, wouldn't she call, like, James to come back and get her? Or, like...
None of this is making sense.
None of it's making sense.
She's not even at the airport.
No, and it's like, her mom was at work at the time that she was, like, supposed to be, like, at the airport. But still, like, I would call my mom. I would be responding to her texts.
Yeah,
like,
right?
I don't know.
Like, it's weird.
And also, like, James refused to take a polygraph and give detectives access to his heavily encrypted phone. First off, red flag. Why is your phone heavily encrypted?
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
Second, okay, the polygraph thing, like, I mean, like, you hear this on other true crime podcasts where they're like, never take a polygraph, like, unless you, like, actually have to.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I don't know.
But
like,
his
phone being heavily encrypted, sketchy as fuck.
Yeah, and him refusing to, like, give them...
Yeah, like, even if you want it heavily encrypted for, like, his own security purposes, like, for, like, whatever his own other stuff is.
Yeah, like, what are you hiding?
Like, give it up for, like, this purpose. You know what I mean?
Exactly. He did, however, provide a picture of his Jeep to police so that they could identify it on security footage. And police didn't see James, Katelin, or his Jeep in any footage from that day.
So why would you give a picture of your car, sir?
Maybe he thought it was like, okay, this is good because they won't be able to, like, identify my car in any of the places that are, like, sketchy. Maybe he, like, borrowed someone's car. But that doesn't make sense. Wait, now
No, he was trying to say that, oh, my Jeep was, like, I dropped her at the airport and at the mall.
But it wasn't seen on any security.
Yeah, so it's sketchy that his Jeep wasn't there.
Oh, dummy.
Like, that's stupid. Why would you do that?
Yeah. And honestly, like, he seems to be most likely suspect, but there's not a clear motive.
I cannot figure out a motive because this seems like the obvious answer, right?
Yeah, like, there's so many reasons that this would be the answer.
But, like, why? Like, her mom and him were friendly at the time. Like, Katelin had just been over
since
there.
She was 7.
Yeah, and, like, they'd just been talking about stuff. Like, it seems really fucking weird.
I mean, unless there was something going on that, like, we didn't know about between them, like, battle. Why was battle the first
but,
one
like,
that came
even,
to my mind?
like,
disagreement?
In my mind, like, if there was something that was, like, some sort of issue between the two of them, I don't think Lisa would have let him drive her to the airport.
Because she wouldn't have.
I think that their relationship seems like it was really close, and if there was something going on there, especially because they were divorced now, like, Lisa would know about it and not let him be the person that drove her to the airport. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
And it's also, okay, but I mean, there are situations where people just snap. Like, for no reason. Like, he could have, like, done something for no reason. Like, for no foreseeable reason.
That's so scary.
But he, like, made something in his mind where he...
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it seems like he should be the obvious answer. But, like, A, it's not solved. And B, like, I can't find a motive.
Yeah. But, like, there's no, like, obvious motive for him.
Yeah.
Which is confusing.
So that kind of leads into the next theory, which is, like, the theory that Katelin actually ran away. So... She did come home to get her high school diploma, which people think maybe, like, you know, she would need that to be on the run because if you need a job or whatever, like, that's what you would use. She also reportedly messaged a Facebook friend saying that she didn't want to be in Virginia or Arizona. Which is kind of ominous. But, like, I don't know. I don't know what was, like, I feel like, I don't know. That's a little weird. That's, like, that's the one thing that, like, makes this theory stick out to me.
Yeah.
Okay, and then also Amber reportedly receives a text from Katelin around this time, I guess before they realized everything was, you know, obviously before they realized she was missing, but roughly the same day. She receives a text from Katelin saying that Katelin cheated on her.
Oh.
Which is really bizarre. However, so, like, they're really confused about this because they're like, okay, even if she cheated, like, why isn't she coming home? Why isn't she coming to get her stuff? Like, why isn't she coming to, like, talk to me about this? Because even before they dated, they were really close friends. They've known each other since childhood. It seems weird that she would just, like, say in a text that she just cheated and not even come to retrieve her belongings.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like people get, like, people get weird about stuff like that.
I suppose. Anyway, but this whole cheating thing is actually kind of confirmed, and police do believe that this happened because, so the night before that Katelin disappears, she actually ends up spending the night at a high school friend's house because she goes to see these two people that she went to high school with. They're actually a couple. They hang out, but they get too drunk, and so she ends up spending the night. But when she spends the night, they actually all end up having a threesome.
So she did cheat on Amber.
So she did cheat on Amber.
And
so
that's confirmed.
That is confirmed. And that's not like... Which, like, that throws it off even more because then you have to think, we're thinking Katelin's not sending these texts, right?
Yeah.
So the only people that knew that Katelin cheated would be able to text is Katelin and this couple.
Yeah.
That's 3 people. But police checked out this couple. That's why they believe the story. Like, they think they're reliable.
Yeah.
So they don't think that, like, the couple's texting Amber. So did Katelin send this text or did somebody else find out?
I don't know if anybody else found out. I feel like Katelin did text Amber. Because that's the only explanation how Amber would know. I don't think that someone else would have texted her that.
But then, like, we don't think Katelin's sending these other texts, so was Katelin sending these other texts?
Maybe she was. I don't know. Like, she's engaged to Amber. Like, that could have led to, like, a massive spiral and, like, freak out when she realized, like, oh shit, I have to go back to Arizona with my fiance, who I just cheated on in such a horrible way.
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. This is like a separate thing. She sends that text in the morning, I'm sorry I cheated, I'm not coming back to Arizona. And then something happens with James, something happens with someone else, and like it goes bad from there, and those are like 2 separate incidences.
Yeah.
Or she sends this text and, like, all the other texts just get weird because she's running away and she's just
she's just stressed out.
Yeah, she's sending choppy messages. Or it's also possible that maybe James helped her run away.
Yeah.
Maybe she would, like, confide. I mean, it's a long-ass trip to the airport. So maybe on the way there, she confides in him.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just need to get out of here. He's like, I can help you. That's why, like, the suitcase is thrown. It's all very messily done. She decides what to take, but she doesn't think about certain things. And then maybe, like, James is actually sending these text messages from Katelin's phone, and that's why they don't sound, like, in her style, but, like, she's told him what to say. But she told him
what to say, yeah. I think that makes sense, honestly.
Yeah. But like, the thing is, as they start to look at him as a suspect, like, why didn't he fold?
Because, like, that's his, essentially, like, he's a father figure to her. I'm sure that she is a daughter figure to him.
I know, but, like, if they're starting to accuse you of murder, don't you think you fold?
But they don't have anything on him.
I guess not.
And that's probably why he refused to give up his, like, phone, because he probably has text records with, like, Katelin about this, potentially.
Yeah.
Like, you never know. I don't know. Like, now I'm even more confused.
I know.
Because that sounds just as, like, plausible as the other one. Except the other one, he has no reason to kill her.
Yeah, so that's why I almost think the helping her run away thing makes more sense. Because I don't think she could run. I don't think, with all the weird things, she ran away by herself. And I don't think there's no motive for him to have done anything. So maybe that's what happened.
Yeah.
And you're right, like, they don't really have anything on him. Like, it's been years and no one's been charged. So, like, is that...
Yeah, like, they don't, like, no, he did not go to the airport, and no, like, his car wasn't seen there, and, like, the phone pinging and stuff, but I don't think that makes him a murderer.
Yeah,
I think
like,
it just
they don't have enough to have charged him on or even continue investigating him.
Yeah.
So it is weird. Okay, just to throw, like, another weird tidbit in there, because, you know, this case needs so many more of those.
Yeah.
Her sister, Gabby, also suspects that she may have met up with someone that she knew from, like, an online messaging thing, and, like, that's like, another, like, weird lead. This is kind of unconfirmed, but, like, they said that she, like, might have had some, like, messaging apps that were weird, and she might have just met, like, an online friend that day, and that might be, like, why she said, like, oh, I'm going to stay with a friend. But, like, that just seems, like, a little too... out there. And, like,
I don't know.
There's so much happening here, I don't think we need anything else over here. You know?
Exactly. No, I agree.
But yeah, isn't this case insane? I've been thinking about this case really for years.
No, I remember listening to, like, this is one of the first actual, like, true crime cases I was, like, introduced to that wasn't, like, John Bonet.
Yeah, same.
So it's, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's really insane, and I don't know, like, there's, like, it's so weird to me that there's just been no answers after all this time.
Yeah, like, we have no idea where she is. There's been no sightings of her, like...
It is weird there's no sightings. If, like,
Yeah.
if she is, like, a runaway, you'd think there would be some sort of sighting.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's a really weird case.
Really weird.
But yeah, this was the disappearance of Katelin Akens. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at tgic.podcast and check out our merch line on all of our socials. It's also linked on our website.
Bye! The following contains descriptions of physical violence, sexual violence, and graphic descriptions of autopsies.